Today on the official Marvel podcast, Supervising location manager Kevin Funston joins us to chat about the incredible LA locations featured throughout Marvel Television's Wonder Man.
Maybe 90% of everything on location, we didn't try to fake it. It's all real.
We're also celebrating the release of the all-new Null comic book series with a full character breakdown of the original King in Black himself.
Plus, we're joined by the writers of that new Null series, Ewing and Tom Waltz, to learn about what readers can expect for the god of the symbiotes.
He's a diminished form of what he once was. But now he just has new enemies that stand in his way and some new bars he has to get through.
I'm Anthony Carboni.
I'm Sade Spence.
And this is the official Marvel podcast.
Anthony, have you seen Wonder Man?
The show literally dropped last night, Sade. But yes, of course, I've seen Wonder Man. I stayed up very, very late to finish Wonder Man.
I was going to say, Anthony, I know you were refreshing Disney Plus waiting for it to drop. So without spoiling anything, what are your initial reactions?
I loved it. I have been a Wonder Man fan for a long time. I love how meta and funny Wonder Man has always been. And the series does a great job with that. And the idea of Simon Williams catching him sort of at the beginning of his acting career and trying to make it. And, the addition of Trevor Slattery, Ben Kingsley, who has been in the Marvel universe and is such a weird and interesting character. The addition of him and then the amount of LA and LA local insider kind of business and industry stuff is very funny.
Oh, same. The show is just so LA,
yes.
And I am from LA County, so that was something I was super excited to see. It has this undeniable LA aesthetic, and it was crafted by the show's supervising location manager, Kevin Funston. He recently sat down with the official Marvel podcast co-host Ray Lowe to break down how he brought the city's energy to Wonder Man. Take a listen.
I'd love to start by talking about how you got involved with Wonder Man to begin with.
Well, this was a time when we had COVID and the strike. And so there was a break in the shooting of the show. And a friend of mine who had worked on it before they broke asked me if I'd be interested in taking over when they came back up. And I said, sure.
Tell us a little bit first about what exactly a location manager does. How do the scripts and locations influence each other?
Well, it really comes from them handing me a script and saying, we want to find a location for this scene. I think when I came on very early, we had a Zoom call with Andrew and we were talking about what kind of locations they wanted. And I think Destin was on that too. And they just said, what would you do for this? Or what would you do for that? And that just gets the juices going and you start thinking about it. And Vasquez Rocks was one of the first ones when they said, where would you shoot a classic, sci-fi remake of a movie or original movie? And I said, well, Vasquez Rocks would be the place to go for that.
Yeah, it's good. True, sci-fi grid if you want to go retro at that point. Yeah.
It's just, that's it. That's the A-list.
You, Mr. Funston, have a wonderful job where you get to have these incredibly intimate relationships with these creators that we fan over and love. So when you reference guests, you're talking about Andrew Guest, the showrunner of Wonder Man. And I think you also mentioned Dustin Daniel Cretton, the director of the show.
Correct. They were amazing. Just to be around that kind of creative talent is exciting. It's, invigorating. It really makes you go all out. They were wonderful.
What is it exactly that makes a certain location a good candidate for filming in?
It's like that, use that it factor, when you get the script and you see the scene and you just picture it. And that's how we're on a Marvel podcast, so I'll say my spidey senses are telling me this is the place that we need to be, and I'll pitch, several places, see what they think.
Do you do a lot of physical scouting with that? Are you boots on the ground kind of guy? Are you searching Google Maps?
Google Maps has kind of got its place now in scouting, but there's nothing like boots on the ground. And I remember when we went to scout Vasquez Rocks, that was a hike up into the rocks just to get there to show everyone what we were looking at.
Wonder Man feels so undeniably Los Angeles. Can you tell us about how you communicated the specific feel of the city? What kind of architecture or culture did you want to include?
There was a lot. I mean, it's really Hollywood and Los Angeles in kind of a combination, but it's really a all-star list of locations. Like the Fox Westwood Theater is talk about Art Deco, talk about one of the most beautiful architectural buildings in Los Angeles as a theater. It was amazing to be able to go there and shoot it as the opening for the show.
Here's the thing, right? You obviously can shape and know the reality of Los Angeles that exists. In this, because of the meta aspect, you almost have the duality of how to make it its own character that I suppose has like the sheen of being fictional in a way that Wonder Man is.
Yeah.
How do you, I guess, kind of balance, I guess, the caricature of LA with what LA is?
Yeah. I mean, this is the great thing about Wonder Man. They said, we want to see LA. We want to see Los Angeles. This is a love letter. This is about this combination of Simon and Trevor, this kind of combination of two great actors that were doing their thing, and put them against all these great areas in Los Angeles and Hollywood. And that was the most exciting thing to me, because you don't get to do that in a lot of shows. It's like you might get one, you might get two, but to get this many locations that really feature, Los Angeles and Hollywood is amazing. It's just amazing.
When it comes to how specific maybe the locations and the descriptions in the script are versus the way that you can shape and form them into something that you also add a voice into, what's the balance there?
Well, I think, it is very collaborative. I mean, you have the production designers who have their vision and they're looking for something, and sometimes they may not know exactly what it is. It's really up to me to try to see if I can present something to them that kind of resonates with them. And it's the same with like Andrew and Destin. I mean, they have to see something that really resonates, and they say, yeah, this is good. This is what we want.
It's kind of the click of the it factor for you too. It's like a chain of it, of basically everyone going all in on it.
Yeah. It's like, I got to find the perfect thing that will match their enthusiasm and match their creative, eye.
I really want to talk about Von Kovac's mansion that has its own personality and feel. And it's so European and massive. I want to know the story behind that. Was there kind of already an aesthetic in mind? Did Von Kovac match that? Or were you open to different types of homes?
I think they wanted that wow factor, where it's like you walk in someplace and you go, oh, wow, this is something. Of course, we have that in LA. There's a lot of those kind of houses. They looked at probably dozens and dozens of different mansions and houses, but they chose that mansion, and it really is amazing. It's wow.
Were there any locations that you loved or were surprised you were able to find throughout this? Again, you've had such an extensive, incredible career, so you've almost seen it all, but I imagine there's always some surprises with every project.
Yeah, I had a couple bucket lists on this one, which was really great. We got to close Sunset Boulevard in front of the Palladium on a Thursday night, and then the following night, we got to pretty much close Hollywood Boulevard in front of the Pantages, which was amazing to me. The Pantages was so helpful with letting us kind of do our thing. It was a bucket list for me.
Crazy, a dream come true. Also, if you actually got to stand there on Sunset, you really feel like you made it.
Yeah, you walk out in the middle of sunset and it's all closed, and it's all closed off for you and for Wonder Man. And it took a lot of help. It took a lot of help from a lot of people to do that. That's a big thing.
Our fans are always looking for behind the scenes details. Are there any locations where the interior and exterior are not actually the same location?
Not really. I mean, we really shot things for what they were. I mean, the Soden House, which is an amazing, the son of Frank Lloyd Wright. I mean, that, and the history of that and the intrigue. I mean, the Black Dahlia story, the backstory. There's so much history to that. Was all shot there. 99%, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, maybe 90% of everything on location. I mean, we didn't try to fake it. It's all real.
There's beauty in that. I love that. Well, as a last question, if someone were looking into getting into location managing, what advice would you have to give them?
I would say, I think the backbone for any really good location person is you got to know the locations. You got to know your environment. When I first started out in locations, I did nothing but scout. I didn't manage. I just went out and looked for locations. They'd give me a commercial script or a television script or some kind of promo script, and they'd say, what can you find us for this? And I would just go out and scout for hours and hours and hours. That really built up my ability, especially when you're doing, something like this, a streaming show that's got multiple episodes where they need things quick. You got to know how to deliver right away.
I'm so excited for everyone to see it.
It's going to be fun. I'm excited to see it too. I'm waiting.
Yeah, we'll talk about it truly when it drops.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Earlier this month, we saw the release of an all-new Knull comic series, and we couldn't be more excited for it. But since Knull is a pretty recent addition to the Marvel Universe, we thought it'd be worth taking a look back at the King in Black.
Ah, yes. Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash is the man in black. I'm talking about Knull.
Oh, talking about nothing. That is not going to be very exciting for podcast listeners.
Okay, so technically, Anthony, we are talking about nothingness, but in the sense as in the primordial void of nothingness, where Knull, spelled Knull, resides as the King in Black.
First introduced in the pages of 2018's Venom #3, Knull has also been called the Lord of the Abyss and the God of Symbiotes because he's literally the original creator of the symbiotes.
And let's talk about that abyss that Knull is the lord of. You've probably heard about the Big Bang.
That is the huge explosion that kickstarted the universe and everything in it.
Yes, Anthony.
No big deal. I am pretty smart when it comes to science.
Yes, you are, and that is the one. So if the Big Bang created everything, have you ever wondered what came before the Big Bang?
I have not, because I cannot get into an existential panic right now. But I believe in Marvel continuity. It is a big empty valley of nothingness.
Exactly. Basically, the big nothing both before and after a big something.
And what do you mean by and after?
Well, the Marvel stories we know and love take place in a big something known as the 8th cosmos.
And I am guessing that the fact that we're on the 8th version means something happened to the previous ones.
Exactly. Good guess, Anthony. Every time a cosmos ends, there's a time where there's only the abyss. And then these impossibly enormous space gods called the Celestials show up to create the next one.
When the 7th cosmos ended, Knull was perfectly copacetic being alone in dark nothingness. That is, until those pesky Celestials returned with light. Knull saw this as an act of war and responded violently.
I can relate. When I'm all snuggled up in my blankets, my room's all dark, those first few rays of morning sunlight, they feel like an assault on my eyes and my coziness.
Yeah, and Knull is nothing if not cozy.
Yeah, exactly.
Then it's a good thing you don't have the power to chop the sun's head off, because Knull was extra grumpy from being stirred from his eternal peace and quiet, and he decapitated the first celestial he encountered, converted the severed head into a forge, and created weapons to fight the next person foolish enough to try and wake him up.
Again, just so relatable.
Knull, the most relatable god of nothingness. What Knull didn't know was why the Celestials were trying to reach him.
And it wasn't about his car's extended warranty. In order to create life in a new cosmos, the Celestials appointed beings called the Beyonders to use the light of concordance to maintain the multiverse from beyond.
Yes, obviously.
And the Celestials' plan was that Knull would be the counterpart to the Beyonders. Knull was appointed the title of King in Black, whose job it is to use the living abyss and maintain the multiverse from within.
Naturally, makes sense.
But, as we said, Knull wasn't having any of that. Knull had an axe to grind, or should I say a sword, and so he rejected his assigned task, choosing instead to end all existence. He used his forge to create the All Black, a sword made of the living abyss. Knull was supposed to use this substance to maintain balance along with the Beyonders, but instead he concentrated its life-ending power into creating symbiotes, beings that bond with the host, increasing their power.
Like Venom. So the very first symbiote was a sword.
That's right, forged with fire and loud noise. The two things that symbiotes like Venom would have an aversion to. Although Knull continued to refine his technique, the sword All Black passed down the scars of its forging. Knull says it best in his first comic appearance, and to quote the King in Black himself, the symbiotes still remember the discordant and incessant noise of a celestial hammer beating their will into something wieldy.
Knull's so metal. That's the thesis statement of this whole thing. If you really want to get down to the nitty gritty of it.
Nitty gritty of it all.
Yeah, Knull is metal as hell, dude. All Black came to be known by two other names, the Necro Sword and the God Slayer. An appropriate title, considering it was used by Knull to kill many Celestials and gods. And then at some point in his deacidal killing spree, Knull was abandoned on a desolate planet without his sword.
Knull gathered his strength over time, and eventually he discovered that he could bond the living abyss with other creatures, allowing him to dominate their forms and experience their senses as a connected hive mind.
Knull grew his horde into an army which he unleashed upon the brightness. No longer alone, Knull commanded his legion of symbiotes from across galaxies. He conquered the Celestials, expanded the void, and very nearly succeeded in snuffing all light from the universe.
That is, until he came across a scrappy little planet called Earth.
You gotta watch out for Earth.
Knull sent two symbiotes in the form of dragons, which came to be known as Grendel by the ancient Danes. The Grendels attacked the Danes, but thankfully, Earth was one of the 9 realms under the protection of Asgard. Thor, the Asgardian god of thunder, encountered these dragons and unleashed his power, severing Knull's mental connection to all symbiotes. Thor destroyed one of them and brought the other one down over the North Sea.
And that's the last we saw of that Grendel.
Not quite, but we'll get into that in a little bit, Anthony. Like a bunch of college freshmen getting their first taste of life untethered from their parents, the symbiotes partied hard. They took over living hosts on every planet that they had been dispatched to, and they rebelled against their former master.
Knull describes this spark of rebellion as an infectious venom. He blamed Thor for poisoning the symbiotes with light, filling them with notions of honor and nobility, and he lamented as his now free creations multiplied into the millions, enough to mutiny against the King in Black and drown him in their darkness.
But Knull is an all-powerful being, and the symbiotes still needed his mind to bind them all. So rather than destroy him, a large horde of symbiotes surrounded Knull and formed a living planet-sized prison. And this homeworld came to be known as Clintar, a word in the symbiotes language meaning cage. And the symbiote race came to be known by the same name, the Clintar.
Knull was trapped at the center of Clintar for centuries, until the espionage organization S.H.I.E.L.D. unearthed the fallen Grendel symbiote dragon and used it to create a super soldier program.
Remember when I said we'd get back to the Grendel?
I should have trusted you. Knull still had a psychic connection with the remaining Grendel, and from across the universe, he used his influence to affect the human hosts that had bonded to it and drive them insane. The dragon was actually a collection of 5 smaller symbiotes, and over time, Knull was able to take control of the Grendel and recover 4 of the 5 of them. He psychically piloted the dragon to downtown Manhattan, where he was confronted by Miles Morales, aka Spider-Man.
And Eddie Brock, who was bonded to another symbiote we know and love, Venom. Knull attempted to separate Venom from Eddie. He unsuccessfully tried to purge Venom of its sense of honor and compassion and reabsorb the symbiote. Venom and Spider-Man escaped, and Knull shifted his focus to finding the 5th and final remaining symbiotic piece of the Grendel. It turns out his plan all along was to pilot the powerful dragon from Earth back to Clintar and free his physical form.
Most of your dragons are just 5 symbiotes in a trench coat. It's true. Look it up. That's science.
Which you are good at.
I'm good at science.
We learned that earlier.
And I will tell you that if you want a dragon, 5 symbiotes, 1 trench coat.
Got it.
This plan ultimately failed, and Grendel was destroyed once and for all. This severed Null's psychic link, and the King in Black was once again left isolated inside of Clintar.
But you just can't keep a good villain down for long. Months later, a symbiote named Scorn founded a cult dedicated to worshiping Null. As part of an effort to free Null, Scorn recovered the body of notorious serial killer Cletus Cassidy, also the former host of the symbiote known as Carnage, and bonded it with a powerful symbiote to revive him. Cletus immediately tried to betray both Scorn and Null. He thought he would be able to free and absorb Null, but Null, being an eldritch god with a lot more experience than Cletus, turned the tables and absorbed him instead. Plus, Null had now amassed enough power to finally break free from the prison planet.
Scorn, Carnage, Null. It's never just a symbiote named Linda. You know? The newly liberated Null went on a rampage. In the Marvel Comics event series King in Black, Null reformed his Necro Sword, all black, and used the living abyss to assimilate and destroy entire planets. His latest conquest brought him once again back to Earth, this time seeking Eddie Brock's son, Dylan. Null learned that Dylan was the key to controlling all the symbiotes in the universe once again, so he attempted to capture him and destroy the planet.
Null came terrifyingly close to achieving his goal. His vendetta against the light brought together not only Earth's mightiest heroes like Iron Man and Captain America, but cosmic protectors as well, such as Silver Surfer and Captain Marvel.
And it is a tough fight. At one point early on, Null is confronted by Sentry, one of the strongest superheroes on Earth, and just rips him in half.
Ugh. Many more heroes would fall before the King in Black's reign of terror ended. Several Avengers and X-Men were unwillingly bonded to symbiotes and brought under Null's thrall. Eventually, it's Eddie Brock who saves the day.
The Enigma Force, a cosmic being created by the Beyonders that acts as a balance against darkness, chose Eddie Brock to become the God of Light. Bonded to the Enigma Force, Eddie/Venom is able to merge Thor's hammer Mjolnir and Silver Surfer's legendary surfboard into a weapon. They defeat Null in battle and use their power to fly him into the core of the sun, permanently ending Null's reign as the King in Black.
Well, permanently in comic book terms. Null made a recent return apparently as a prisoner of Hela, the Asgardian goddess of death. So his story is far from over.
You know, all of this leaves me with only one thought, Sade. If you think there's a villain more cosmically horrifying than the god of symbiotes, then your opinion is null and void.
Ha ha ha.
Sade,
Good
null
one,
and void.
Anthony. I get it. I get it. Yeah. As we mentioned, Null hasn't really been seen in the Marvel Comics universe since 2020's King in Black. But now, nearly 5 years later, he's back. And let's just say he's pretty angry about being vaporized at the end of the King in Black series.
To learn more about the next chapter in Null's story, I got a chance to sit down with the co-writers of the all-new Null series, Al Ewing and Tom Waltz. Check it out. Tom Waltz and Al Ewing, thank you so much for being here, guys.
No problem.
Thanks for having us.
First of all, I want to say, Al, it's a crazy time for symbiotes. It's a crazy time for Venom and everyone.
There is a lot going on with symbiotes. At the moment, I am in the middle of doing my end of a symbiote-related crossover. It's more of a sort of Spider-Man type crossover, but there's a lot of symbiote in there. And then what we are building up to come very close on the heels of that is what I'd call like a true symbiote crossover, where the symbiotes are like front and center. And yeah, we're sort of on the road to that.
And of course, if you're doing a lot with symbiotes, Null has got to be there. If people are unfamiliar with Null, we just found out that he's back as of Venom 250. Can you tell us, Tom, a little bit about where Null is at the beginning of our first issue here?
Null, again, finds himself in a cage. He was, for a long time in Clintar, which was just a massive planet-sized cage, and now he's kind of in Hela's little pet cage, and he's a diminished form of what he once was, at least physically, and maybe even magically to a point, but like internally, he still has that drive. He's the ultimate, I just want to be a lone guy, and that hasn't changed. And now he just has new enemies that stand in his way and some new bars he has to get through, but he's Null.
So tell us about Hela. We start off very Asgard heavy here. How does Hela sort of figure into Null's story right now?
Well, we got a taste of this at the end of Venom 250. But it's kind of connected to what's going on over in Thor. The Asgardians have been forgotten in the Midgard realm. And the Midgard realm's a big place. It includes space. It includes some of the more cosmic corners of the Midgard realm. So even Null forgot all about the Asgardians. Which kind of meant Hela, who was sort of on the other side of the Rainbow Bridge when it collapsed, and trapped the Asgardians in Asgard, and trapped Hela in Midgard. But basically that meant that she could sneak up on Null. And she could use a form of magic that the universe had forgotten to basically take care of him. And the reason he was even around to have the jump got on him at all was because Null is the personification of the void, is the personification of nothing. And who is the king in black right now? Well, it's nobody. There's nothing on the throne. Nature abhors a vacuum, but Null loves a vacuum. A vacuum is what gives Null power. So he's back.
It sounds like the two of you are very much kind of like on the same page with the character and with the sort of universe. Tom, how was it for you? Like, what is the collaborative process like kind of coming in, getting involved with Marvel and Al and working on this?
Yeah, this has been amazing. I mean, I spent a long time, I co-write with Kevin Eastman the last Ronin series at IDW. So I've spent better part of the last 5 or 6 years with Kevin co-writing that series. So I've had experience in that area. But of course, you go into this unknown. I knew Al, but I didn't know Al. And right away, as soon as we started spitballing with the editors and I saw the notes coming in and I saw some of the dialogue Al was recommending, I'm like, okay, this is my guy. We're on the same over-the-top pompous wavelength when it comes to these big cosmic characters. And that's the first thing I told Al. He goes, oh, you write a certain character, which I won't spoil right now pretty well. He goes, I really like how you write him. It's kind of that old school style. And I said, that's because that's who I love. That's the character I fell in love with. And that's the character I would want to write. I love these big, overwrought speeches from these Asgardians. But yeah, I think the collaborative process has been great. As far as like technically, what we did was we all got together, threw ideas in a pot as far as what we thought might be good for the story. And I think one thing that works for me is I kind of come into this fresh and I might see things that other people will say, oh, I forgot about that. And Al is wide open to ideas. We put together this cohesive thing. Al gives me these wonderful breakdowns and then I script, and it feels like the process has been wonderful. I mean, we've all had our equal input, and at the same time, I always have fun doing this because I get to do some work, but I also get to be a fan while I'm doing the work because I get to see somebody else's work.
And, Al, you're saying this is Null's story, but it seems to tie into, like you're saying, there's a lot of stuff going on with Asgard and Midgard right now. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on with Thor, with the Guardians of the Galaxy, with Venom. I would be not doing my due diligence for Marvel fans here if I didn't say, you're thinking about Null fitting into this big picture somehow.
I mean, that's sort of every Marvel book in an ideal world, and that it's the big picture. It's how it all fits together. It's how all the little jigsaw pieces come to be. Because I mean, I had like an idea of like what this big climactic sort of symbiote story was going to be, and it's just synchronicity that like the Thor stuff I'm doing at the same time sort of fits so well into it. I mean, to be honest, when I was doing the Thor stuff, I was like, oh, I hope this doesn't cause too much problems with it. No, the reverse. It's smoothing the way. And this is something I find happens a lot. If you look at the Marvel Universe as just as a whole, as a big picture, you'll be amazed how many times those connections will work for you as opposed to like getting in your way.
Do you have any hints for us as to, now that all of these things sort of has serendipitously aligned, where Null will find himself in the bigger picture when this is over?
Oh, well, honestly, I feel like if I even say like one sentence about it, I'm gonna give away the whole farm, which is kind of it's the double-edged sword of telling people to buy your comics. Because, you can't just say, oh, we're going to do something with Null that I don't think has ever been done. It's going to surprise you. It's going to, knock you off your feet. You're going to be coming out of this, looking at the whole Null-Hela rivalry in a completely different way. You're going to be, really excited for, Queen in Black coming out of this once you see what happens in Null. I can say all that. It's all true. If I don't, drop a little, show you a little of what's inside the box, you're not going to believe it. And I just don't want to show you what's inside this box. It's too precious. I would much rather you found out for yourself.
Think of it this way. Null, to me, is Michael Corleone. He is a Michael Corleone. And the reason being is Michael Corleone didn't want to be in the family business. He didn't want to be part of all this. He just wanted to have his life, but he keeps getting pulled back in. And I feel like Null is that guy that no matter how much he wants that nothingness, there's always something going on.
Yeah, that's fun.
Okay. Well, we will all just have to wait and see then. Null #1 is available now. Go check it out. Tom Waltz, Al Ewing, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we say goodbye for this week, let's check in with Null writer Tom Waltz once more for a Marvel comic book recommendation. If you are looking for something new and exciting to start reading this year, and you're looking for some outer space mayhem starring the Guardians of the Galaxy, Nova, the Silver Surfer, Galactus, Thanos, and more, Tom has the perfect 2006 event series spearheaded by writer Keith Giffen.
One of the things I pulled out just to kind of get fired up for the cosmic aspect is the Annihilation saga. To me, that is one of the ultimate cosmic sagas, and I love Keith's writing. I love how he writes all the alien voices. They all sound like drunk pirates. It's awesome. If people want to revisit something that's just wonderfully structured too, beginning to end, is the Annihilation event. That was one thing that I've been looking at lately again.
Next week on the Official Marvel Podcast, we're joined by the cast of Wonder Man, including Ben Kingsley and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II.
Until then, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you listen. And why not drop a review or comment?
This episode of the Official Marvel Podcast was hosted by Sade Spence and me, Anthony Carboni, featuring Ray Lowe.
Our producers are Jasmine Estrada and Anita Flores. Additional editing by Justin Harris and additional writing by Louis Gaudio.
Brad Barton is our senior manager of audio production and development, and our production manager is Emily Godfrey.
Mixed by Justin Harris.
Our theme music is by Ida Akbal.
Executive produced by Larissa Rosen.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
The King in Black will come for us all.